Sergeant Marianas. Rear Admiral Benjamin Nicholson joins us in the KUAM News Link Zoom room. Good morning, Rear Admiral.
Good morning, Chris and Sabrina Hoffaday. I'm really glad to be here with you today.
Definitely. It's pretty neat to see you. Most of the time we get you on the phone, so we're glad you guys... was it a little difficult figuring out the Zoom this morning?
We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but I think we worked through it. And I'll be really glad when the day comes that we can sit down in person in the studio.
Right on. Sounds good. I know Sabrina had a bunch of hard-hitting questions to fire at you.
First one, did you take your vitamins today?
I actually did take my vitamins today. I take a multivitamin and a couple of others, but I sure did.
Good job. Well, let's just go ahead and start with the interview. I know we got some releases from JRM with respect to vaccinations, right? And so I guess I just wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of tell us about the steps, everything you guys are doing to fully implement the DOD and I guess President Biden's mandate for mandatory vaccinations for military personnel and contractors.
Sure. I'm glad to have that question. But before I jump into that, I just want to say thanks for my, a little over 4 months of being here, the great hospitality on Guam and the people here that have really invited us in. I'm looking forward to getting out in the community a little bit more. And that'll lead us into our next thing, talking about COVID, because that makes it a little bit restrictive. But no, glad you asked about COVID. We're really doing pretty well in DOD here on the island. So as of last night within the Department of Defense, and that's including our active duty members and our civilian members and our family members that are here, we only have 35 active cases. So it's relatively small compared to the number of active cases island-wide. But we're doing a number of things to help with that. And one of the big things, as you mentioned, is vaccinations. So for the active duty military members, we have a mandatory vaccination mandate, and that is in progress. And in fact, here on Guam, about 94% of the active duty population is fully immunized, having both shots in the waiting period. And then we have another few percentage on top of that that brings us to about 97% either fully immunized or had their first shot and just waiting on the second shot. So we're doing really well. For those folks that have chosen not to get the vaccination, there's a couple of different ways they can put in for medical waivers or health waivers, and those will be reviewed and going forward. And if those things don't pan out, there may be some actions for those folks to be potentially removed from the military. On the civilian side, something similar has come out. We're in the process of vaccinating our civilian members here that are employees of the Department of Defense. And we're doing really well on that as well, too. And they have a mandate of 22 November to have their vaccinations completed by. For the contractors that work here, it works a little differently because it has to go through their contracting agent. So a little bit different for the contractors. But all in all, we're pushing towards a goal of getting everyone vaccinated within our DOD community as much as we can for the folks that are actually receiving paychecks from DOD, so our active duty members and our civilians that work for us. So that's going along very well. We've got plenty of vaccinations at our Naval Hospital to be able to support this, and we'll continue those drives as we go forward.
Mm-hmm. You know, we've heard a lot about federal agencies, Health and Human Services, FEMA, Center for Disease Control, coming to Guam to assist the local government with the COVID-19 response. Have you guys been getting the same from HSS and FEMA as well?
So I think, as you know, there was a request to FEMA for some support for the local hospitals, and that was filled by some Army nurses that came in to help them out. But within our military lifelines here on Guam, we really haven't had to have any extra help, at least not recently. Back when the Theodore Roosevelt was here, I think, as many people remember, it was a little bit different. But right now, with the capabilities that we have, we're just fine.
Okay. What about restrictions? Because the governor, she's implemented her somewhat restrictions with respect to vaccinated only being able to go to restaurants and other sort of covered establishments, and limits for social gatherings inside and outside. What sort of restrictions are being implemented on military bases?
Right. That's a great question as well. So we have similar restrictions inside our lifelines, but but because our numbers are a little bit different, we are always evaluating that, and we have the ability to potentially dial back some of those restrictions, so they may be a little different. Right now, the restrictions are pretty much the same. We have a mask mandate. We have limits on some of our gatherings and these sort of things. So for the most part, it very much mirrors what's going on in the outside community. But then also for our personnel on the base, when they go off base into the community, and also for our visiting units or ships that come through here, everyone has to abide by the government of Guam mandates. And we are very clear with that in telling the folks that come here that they must do that. So we try to balance that. But again, we're looking very closely at the numbers. For us, a big part is the 7-day case rate, watching how those fluctuate. Just like Guam saw a spike not long ago, that's coming down now. We saw a bit of a spike within DOD, and that's coming down as well. It's coming down pretty quickly. So we have just a small number of folks right now that are impacted.
Mm-hmm. We talk a lot about monoclonal antibody treatments, the Regenco V, and the infusion center that's set up over in Manila. Does Naval Hospital, the military, offer these sorts of treatments as well?
We have some treatments that we can do, but actually, in this respect, on the monoclonal, the government here and the hospitals in Guam are actually a little bit ahead of that. So we often refer our patients out to those facilities for those sort of treatments.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about, the partnership then with the government of Guam and the military in the overall response to COVID?
Sure. So we, as you know, our Naval Hospital not only supports our military community, but also in many ways supports the local community. And it is quite common for our emergency responders, our ambulances and fire departments to respond in the local community, specifically on the southern half of the island, where the Naval Hospital is a little closer to. So we're often taking in patients that come, some with COVID, some for other reasons, into our hospital, especially when the local hospitals, it might be faster for them to get to us, depending on the criticality of the condition, or emergency services are engaged elsewhere, so we're able to do that. So that provides, that's one avenue where we provide some support. But the main thing is the constant and close collaboration between our Naval Hospital and the hospitals here in Guam to make sure that everyone is communicating what's going on and we can assist each other. So I think we've got a really great relationship in those respects.
Mm-hmm. Kind of wanted to switch gears from COVID. We all got the story about the USS Connecticut submarine that made its way to Guam following the incident in the South China Sea. Can you give us an update on the status of the submarine, the personnel, the sailors that were injured?
Sure. So the submarine's here. It's safe. It's in port. There's a number of assessments that are going on to ensure that the submarine is structurally ready for a voyage in the future. And at the same time, there's investigations that are going on, safety investigation to understand exactly what happened, and then a command investigation to understand the factors surrounding that. So those are all going on right now. And I can't speak to any of those specifically because of the nature of the investigations. The crew, most of the injuries were quite minor. There was a couple of more significant injuries too, and those folks have been treated. And I think right now we're doing pretty well. So the focus now is on the repairs to the vessel, the investigations, and then preparing the crew to make the voyage once they're ready to leave.
Mm-hmm. You know, on the repairs, I wanted to ask, because I think I saw an article, might have been in Forbes, about repairs and the inability for repairs to be done on Guam. Can you speak to that? Is that true?
Well, so the this particular submarine requires some very specialized maintenance to take care of it. It's a little bit different than the submarines that we have permanently stationed here in Guam. And because of that, decisions at other levels are being made where the maintenance is going to be done on the Connecticut. And I believe it looks like the Connecticut is going to go back to its home port where they have the specialized equipment and training to do the repair on this particular kind of submarine.
So do you know how long it's going to be, I guess, here on island?
I can't tell you specifically. I know there's a number of things. It's really more about how long it's going to take the investigations to play out, and then the repairs they're doing to ensure that it's seaworthy for the voyage. I suspect it will be more than a few days. It'll still be here for a little while, but the specifics I don't have yet.
And who's conducting the investigation?
Right. So the Navy has a number of different investigating areas. And for anything dealing with our nuclear propulsion vessels, specifically the submarines, is an organization called Naval Reactors. They're out of Washington, D.C., and they oversee all of this. And so they have sent some folks, some really specialized individuals that understand submarine operations and understand what it takes to do this. And they are among several different folks that are looking at this, but really the lead in figuring out what's going on.
You mentioned earlier you've been here for 4 months, so you've had a chance to go around the island, I would assume.
Yes.
What will be, I guess, your priorities as the new JRM commander?
Well, my priorities are continuing to work with the community, make sure that we have, and we're not always the best, I'll admit, make sure that we have open communication and dialogue so folks understand what's going on. But part and parcel with that is overseeing some of the construction that's going on here to improve some of the capabilities that we have here and expand some of the capacity that we have here on Guam.
All right. Was there anything else you'd like to say, or your message to the people of Guam?
Well, I would just like to address briefly, there's been quite a bit of discussion lately about some of the historical and archaeological finds, and there seems to be a bit of confusion as to why we do things in a particular manner, and I just want to clarify that a little bit. So we take great care to ensure that when we are doing construction, or when we discover any sort of remains or any sort of archaeological finds, that we do the utmost to protect that. And one of the ways we do that is to ensure that we have properly trained archaeologists that are involved in that, along with the State Historic Preservation Officer, and in conjunction with that. So what it means is that we really don't want anybody just go into an area to take a look, because they may not be trained, and they may actually cause damage or harm to the areas. So we're very protective of the exact locations of where things are found, specifically for that reason. And in doing such, I know that has a lot of frustration. So we're looking at different ways that we can better communicate this to the people here of Guam on exactly what's going on, so there's no confusion about this. Even myself, I can't just go to one of the sites and look at something. I have to be escorted by the proper people so I don't cause a problem. So I just want to make sure that that's really clear to everyone on why we do it this way. It's not in an effort to hide the culture. It's really in an effort to preserve the culture that's here and try to do that in the right manner. And I hope that makes sense.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Admiral Nicholson. Really appreciate your time and accessibility and coming on the show. And we look forward to more interviews with you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Half a day.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rear Admiral. 8:17. Let's take a break, and we're coming back with our 8 o'clock newscast, which is proudly brought to you by Pacific Points. Good morning.
See what's on TV tonight with schedules, network news and notes, local promotions and giveaways on KYM Communications social media pages. Like and follow us on Facebook or Instagram now for all the latest and never miss out.
The Culture Club returns to KOM Digital